The metal was still warm in his pocket when the taser hit him. Not later, not after a warning, not after some dramatic escalation. Right there in the rain while he was doing exactly what he was told. And if that doesn't tell you everything about how this night was about to go, I don't know what will. Because sometimes it's not about what you did. It's about what someone already decided you were. His name is Jordan Hayes, 19, tall, calm. The kind of kid people either respect immediately or misunderstand completely. And yeah, that second part happens more than it should. A few hours before everything went sideways, Jordan was standing on a small stage at a community center holding a plaque with both hands like he'd been taught listening to people clap for him. Neighbors, coaches, folks who watched him grow up. Nothing fancy, just recognition for doing the right things when nobody was watching. Helping out, showing up, staying consistent. You know what I mean? The quiet kind of good. His father was in the back row, arms folded, not clapping, not smiling, big, just watching. General Nathan Hayes, 4 stars Army. The kind of man who doesn't need to say much because when he does, it sticks. On the drive home, rain tapping steady against the windshield, Jordan sat there with that plaque in his lap, turning it over like he was still trying to believe it. His father glanced over once and said, "You understand what that means now, right?" Jordan shrugged, half smiling. "Means I did something right." The general shook his head slightly. "It means people are watching. That changes the standard." And Jordan let out a quiet breath. "So it's not a reward. It's pressure." "It's both," his father said, simple as that. They pulled up near his usual stop just a few blocks from home, and Jordan grabbed his bag, stepped out into the mist. Before driving off, his father rolled down the window just enough and said, "Keep your hands visible." Jordan nodded. Always. And that word, always, followed him straight into the moment that changed everything. The bus stop was empty, just a flickering light wet pavement, that soft kind of rain that doesn't look like much until it soaks through everything. Jordan stood there, back straight, hands relaxed but visible the way he'd practiced since he was 14. Then headlights cut across him, slow, deliberate, and a patrol car rolled up like it had been looking for something exactly like him. Officer Grant stepped out, already carrying that energy. You know it when you see it, that quiet assumption that something is wrong before a word is even said. He looked Jordan up and down, took in the hoodie, the backpack, the stillness, and decided right there who he thought he was dealing with. "You got somewhere to be?" he asked. Jordan turned toward him slowly, careful, waiting for the bus, sir, and even that seemed to land wrong. "I need to see some ID." Jordan nodded once steady. "It's in my front pocket, sir. I'm going to reach for it slowly." He said it exactly the way he'd been taught, every word, measured every movement announced, not out of fear, out of survival. Grant didn't answer right away. He just stood there watching, like he was waiting for something to confirm what he already believed. "Go ahead," he said finally. Jordan moved. 2 fingers, slow controlled, just like he said he would. And then it happened. No warning, no second command, no pause. Just that sharp crack through the air, and suddenly Jordan's body wasn't his anymore. Muscles locked, legs gave out, and he hit the pavement hard, rain splashing up around him like the ground itself rejected him. For a second he couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. The world narrowed to sound and pressure and that electric aftermath still buzzing through his chest. And somewhere above him, calm as anything, Grant said, "Stop resisting." Yeah, that happened. Jordan tried to force words out. I was reaching, but it didn't matter. The story had already been written. Hands were yanked behind his back, restraints pulled tight, tighter than they needed to be, and just like that, he wasn't a kid waiting for a bus anymore. He was a problem being handled. Grant nudged the plaque with his boot, glanced at it, barely interested. "Community service," he muttered, like the words meant nothing. Jordan watched it slide toward the curb, watched the rain start filling the engraved letters, and something in his chest tightened. Not just from the taser, but from what that moment meant. Not the pain, the dismissal. "You know what your problem is," Grant said, crouching slightly, voice low, almost casual. "You think all this makes you special." Jordan didn't answer. He just looked straight ahead, breathing slowly, holding on to whatever control he had left. That stillness, that discipline, it bothered Grant more than anything else could have. So he escalated, called it in. Non-compliant subject, resisting prior to restraint, smooth automatic, like he'd said it 100 times before, because he had. At the station, everything moved like routine. Booking paperwork, the usual noise of a place that processes people like items on a list. Grant sat down and started typing his report, building the version of events that would protect him. Sudden movement, threat perceived, Force justified. Clean, simple, done. Except it wasn't. Another officer, Brooks, picked up Jordan's belongings to log them. Phone, keys, wallet. Standard stuff. He opened the wallet, glanced at the student ID, flipped past a transit card, then paused. There was another card behind it. Different, heavier, gold trim. Not something you see every day. He pulled it out slowly, eyes scanning it once, then again. His posture changed, subtle but real. "Grant," he said. No response. "Grant, you need to look at this." Grant reached over, annoyed, took the card without thinking much of it. Then he read the name, and everything stopped. You could see it. The shift. That tiny crack in confidence when reality doesn't match the story in your head. Because Jordan Hayes wasn't just some random kid. He was General Nathan Hayes' son, and not in a distant, symbolic way. His actual son. The kind of connection that reaches places paperwork doesn't. The kind of name that makes entire rooms reconsider what just happened. Grant didn't say anything. He just stared at the card a second too long. Then the doors opened. No noise, no announcement, just presence. General Hayes walked in like he already knew exactly where to go, uniform, sharp posture, steady, not rushing, not hesitating. Conversations stopped without being told to. People straightened up without thinking. That's what real authority looks like. It doesn't need to introduce itself. He walked straight across the room, stopped a few feet from Grant, and let the silence settle before speaking. "I'm here," he said, calm, even for the officer who made the worst decision of his career. Not loud, not angry, just certain. Grant tried to respond. "Sir," the subject was non-compliant. "I've read the report," the general said. "That was it. Conversation over before it began. I've also spoken with the district attorney and federal oversight." He let that sit for a second. They're all aware. Now here's where Grant thought he still had something. "There was a malfunction with the body cam," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "The footage corrupted." The general nodded once. "That's unfortunate." Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "My son wears a smartwatch," he said, like he was explaining something simple. "It activates under stress." His heart rate exceeded that threshold tonight. A small pause. It recorded everything. You could feel the air change. 41 minutes, he added, already uploaded. And just like that, the entire story collapsed. No more report, no more missing footage, no more he said, just evidence. Clear, complete, untouchable. Grant didn't argue after that. There was nothing left to argue with. A few minutes later, federal marshals walked in. Calm, direct, no drama. They asked for his badge, his weapon. He handed them over. Slowly, carefully. The same way he had demanded control earlier that night. Then they turned him around, restrained his hands. Yeah, same kind of restraints he used. And as they walked him out, something interesting happened. Nobody watched. One by one, officers turned away, found something else to look at. Not out of respect, out of something else, maybe shame, maybe distance. Maybe they just didn't want to see how quickly power can flip. Jordan woke up hours later in a hospital room, quiet except for the low hum of machines. His father was there sitting beside him, exactly where he needed to be. No speech, no lecture, just presence. Jordan swallowed, voice rough. What happened? Federal custody, his father said. Simple, final. Jordan nodded slowly, processing it. The watch got everything. Yes. A small pause. The cleanest evidence they've seen in years. Jordan let out a breath, something close to a laugh, but not quite. You told me to wear it. I thought it was for health. His father looked at him steady as ever. It was for all reasons. Weeks later, Jordan stood on a field at sunrise uniform, pressed shoulders back, that same discipline people kept misreading. The plaque had been recovered, cleaned, restored. Still his. Still real. Still earned. And here's the part that sticks with me. Everything worked this time. The system corrected itself. The truth came out. The right person was held accountable. But what if that watch wasn't there? What if that name didn't carry weight? What if Jordan was just another kid? With no proof, no backup, no one walking through that door. That's the part people don't like to sit with. So I'm asking you, was this justice? Or was this just one rare moment where the truth had enough power behind it to survive? And how many stories never get that ending? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you've seen, what you believe, and whether you think accountability like this is the rule or just the exception.